Good evening, everyone. I'd like to reconvene the Dana Point City Council meeting for November the 18th. City Attorney Munoz, do we have anything to report out of closed session?
Madam Mayor, there's no reportable items this evening.
Okay. We'll now start with the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Olvera, and then we'll have the invocation, which will be led by Pastor Jens Christie of Capo Beach. Please rise. Oh, I'm sorry. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now that I've got your attention, Jackie asked me, and I came in the door this evening, what I was doing for Thanksgiving. And I told her I'm cooking dinner for all of you. So I do want to open an invitation to you, your friends, and your family. If you have no place to go on Thanksgiving, we are serving free Thanksgiving dinner at our church beginning at noon. So you're all welcome to come. And with that said, let's pray. God of all creation, you have cared for this country and filled it with your riches. We thank you for the mystery of creation, for the beauty that the eye can see, for the joy that the ear may hear. We thank you for setting us in communities, for families who nurture us, for friends who love us by choice, for companions at work who share our burdens and daily tasks, for strangers who welcome us, for children who lighten our moments with delight and offer us hope for the future. Our occasion of Thanksgiving, we as a nation and community will take rest from our labors to consider your many blessings. We remember those who are less fortunate than we and pray for the victims of poverty, racism, and oppression. We pray you will bless all those gathered here tonight. Give us guidance and empower us for your work. We thank you for this day, for life, for your grace, and your promise to be with us. For these and all blessings we give thanks and praise. Amen.
Please be seated. Okay. We'll now move on to presentations and proclamations. We'll start with the business of the month, which is Waterman Harbor. We'll have Robert Sedita provide the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Bartlett, members of the council. Tonight I'm pleased to announce the business of the month for November 2014, Waterman Harbor. We are joined this evening by Waterman Harbor's owner, Damian Collins, their chef, John Cuevas, and general manager, Travis Francis. Located in Dana Point Harbor in the former Jolly Rogers building, Waterman Harbor opened in September 2014. Waterman Harbor was named after the men and women who make their living from the water and was built to embody the spirit of the watermen through its seaside views, proximity to docks, and water-themed decor. Designed to take advantage of the seaside location, guests can enjoy views or simply watch the boats go by from anywhere in the restaurant, the outdoor deck, or the patio. The interior of the restaurant features many images and personal items from watermen, famous surfers, sailors, and others that make their living on the water. In addition to this, Waterman's offers a diverse menu created by Chef Cuevas, which features locally sourced seafood, meats, and produce, and offers guests award-winning dishes in a relaxed atmosphere. In keeping with the seaside location, Chef Cuevas has created an extensive menu featuring high-quality, sustainable seafood, including locally caught tuna, fresh uni, and a state-of-the-art raw bar. With numerous dining options, private rooms, and outdoor seating areas, Waterman Harbor makes an ideal location for a romantic dinner for two, a family outing, or a large private or corporate event. On behalf of the City Council, I would like to congratulate Waterman Harbor for their successful opening and being selected as Business of the Month. We wish you many years of continued success and prosperity.
If I could have Damian Collins join me, and also your staff. Well, I am so excited to be able to announce that we have our November Business of the Month, which is Waterman's Harbor. We watched for a number of years the old Jolly Roger just sit there, and to have a brand new restaurant in the harbor, which is not only just a new restaurant, but it sets the standard, it sets the bar, raises that level of what we expect in our Dana Point Harbor revitalization project. So this sort of kicks off the one far end of the harbor. And it's fantastic. If you haven't been there, the outdoor deck is wonderful. You've got a great view of the boats and the ocean, and it's just a great relaxed setting. The food is absolutely wonderful. We'll talk about the chef in a moment, but they spared no expense to make a first-class restaurant. And in our five-star city, we're really proud to have this restaurant open up, and it's going to be there for many years to come. If you haven't tried it, please get over there. They've got a great happy hour and oyster bar, and everything on the menu is just absolutely fantastic. I was just over there yesterday, in fact. So, anyway, congratulations, Damien. We have a certificate to present to you from the city of Dana Point. Certificate of Recognition for Waterman's Harbor, featured Business of the Month for November 2014. The City of Dana Point takes great pleasure in featuring Waterman's Harbor, located at 34661 Golden Lantern in Dana Point, and extends our congratulations on being named Dana Point Featured Business of the Month by Mayor Lisa Bartlett. On behalf of the Dana Point City Council and the City of Dana Point, congratulations, Damien.
Thank you.
And I'd like to have you say a few words and also introduce your staff and have the Chamber of Commerce come up as well.
All right, to my left is Chef John Cuevas. John was originally with the Venetian out in Scottsdale and then moved down to be one of the opening chefs at the Montage Laguna Beach. He then moved up to the Montage Beverly Hills, and we were lucky enough to snag him because his kid's starting high school and wants to be closer to home, and worked out really, really well for us. Next to him is Travis Francis, general manager. Most recently was at the rooftop in Laguna Beach. Saw what kind of we're trying to create down here and jumped on board with our group. It's been a really good welcoming addition. We had a great experience going through the construction of this building. We were really excited. When the opportunity presented itself, we knew that this was the spot we wanted to be, how we wanted to do it. We knew that we wanted to put a really nice restaurant with great food in the harbor. We wanted to be the first one that kind of kicked off the whole harbor, just like Stillwater is hopefully the one that kicks off the whole downtown plan. Put some stuff in Dana Point that we like to eat, places we like to do, and hopefully you guys enjoy them as well.
Thank you.
That's it.
We now have a certificate to present from the Chamber of Commerce.
Hello, and congratulations on being Business of the Month in the month of November. On behalf of the Dana Point Chamber of Commerce, our members, our staff, and Board of Directors, congratulations.
Thank you.
And here's a nice gift certificate of $250 towards some marketing in the best Dana Point Chamber of Commerce. The best chamber around.
And next we have our Employee of the Month. If I could have Mike Killebrew join me up front. Our Employee of the Month for November is Beverly Bryan. And we're going to have Mike Killebrew make the announcement.
Come on up, Bev. Get to embarrass you now. I want to thank the mayor and the city council for recognizing our employees each month, and in particular this month with Bev, who's our accounting supervisor. Bev came to us a little over 6 years ago. We hired her in as an accounting technician, but the reason I hired her, a couple reasons. Hire smart people with great attitudes, and then Bev had the added bonus that she had run soup to nuts, an accounting office, private sector in the past, so I knew bringing her in, the upside with her I had the position she's in now in mind 6 years ago when we hired her, and she's actually stepped into it a little bit sooner than we'd anticipated and has done a phenomenal job. She's installed all new accounting systems. She's revamped all of our accounting processes. She's been a great mentor to some of our newer staff and has done just a phenomenal job for us. And she's well-liked in the city, and you can see that as a testament that there's a lot of her coworkers that came in tonight to see her get this award. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to you, Madam Mayor.
Well, Bev, on behalf of the city, we have a certificate of recognition for you. You know, it's really tough every month when we have to choose one employee to be Employee of the Month, because in Dana Point, we have so many great employees. Every single one of them is fantastic. They're not only competent, they love their jobs, they love the community loves them, and they're all team players. And you know, you don't find that very often in the private sector or even in the public sector. So we're really honored to have so many great staff right here at the city. And when you take a look at what we have on staff at Dana Point, these people have been with the city, most of them, a really long time. It's not unusual to find employees that have been here 10, 20 plus years. And that tells you something about the city when you've got that kind of longevity on your staff. So, Bev, we have a certificate of recognition for you, and I'm going to have you hold this. Okay. And I won't read the whole thing, but I'll read, let's see, one section here. Bev is a true leader, working hands-on to develop skills among the accounting staff, and is consistently thorough and accurate in her work. Her strong work ethic and calm, professional, and friendly demeanor have gained her great respect among her coworkers. So therefore, on behalf of the City of Dana Point, we want to thank you for your great service to the city. We hope you're here for many, many more years to come. And congratulations on being named Employee of the Month for November for the City of Dana Point. Okay. And would you like to say a few words and bring up your husband?
I just want to thank the council for this recognition. It really means a lot. I've been here for 6 years, and it has been a pleasure working with the city staff. They really do have a phenomenal staff, so thank you again.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to introduce?
This is my husband of 35 years. Yes. It'll be 35 years coming up. Yeah, so. Bill.
Okay. Thank you. We have several presentations. We'll start with the Relay for Life presentation. If we could have Donna Rosanelli Barhorn, Judy Brandmeier, and the American Cancer Society representative Brad Goss come up to present at the podium, please.
Good evening. Mayor Bartlett, council members, on behalf of the Dana Point Relay for Life, we'd like to express our deepest gratitude for all the support you've given us over the last 8 years. As event chair for the past 2 years, I've worked very closely with many of your staff members, and would like to name just a few that have made my years as chair that much easier. Doug Chuck Cavis, Mike Killebrew, Kevin Evans, Sharon Murphy, Jackie Littler, and Rachel Johnston. When I think of these people, several words come to mind: caring, compassionate, professional, because that's what I believe the people at Dana Point that you employ do. I know that when we need something to be done, we can always rely on their support and the know-how to complete any job, no matter how small or how large. This year, the Dana Point Relay for Life was awarded the Pace Setter Award by the American Cancer Society. We could not have achieved that without all the help the city gives us. So with that said, we'd like to present to Mayor Bartlett and the council members a plaque and a huge thank you for all that you've done for us over the years. Mayor Bartlett?
Thank you. Why don't you come up here? Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Judy? Oh. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Judy. Let's see. see, I think we also have someone from RH Dana. Do we have Lori Cooper present? Or Joyce Swaying from Palisades Elementary School? Yes, okay, great. Why don't you? Okay, if you could come up to the podium, please, for your presentations. Thank you. Oh, okay.
As you know, the Relay for Life is all about cancer and trying to stomp out cancer for future generations. What we did this year is we went out and we challenged the schools in Dana Point, RH Dana, and Palisades to bring the kids in so that we can get them as youngsters into trying to help us solve cancer and stomp it out. So what we've done is we challenged the two schools. They came in, they brought their kids, and they just have made an overwhelmingly difference, I think, in our relay this year, which helped us get the award that we were awarded by bringing more students in. So what we'd like to do is, unfortunately, I did forget. I worked too hard today. I forgot your awards, but I have them at home. But we asked Mayor Bartlett if we could present it to you tonight, and we wanted to recognize that the schools are involved, and we hope to see you again next year. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Bartlett.
And now we have a presentation from the Transportation Corridor Agency. We're going to have Barbie Daly and Amy Potter present. Okay, great. Okay, Amy Potter will present first.
Good evening. I'm Amy Potter. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the Transportation Corridor Agencies, also known as the toll roads. And we have two separate agencies, the San Joaquin Hills, which is the 73 toll road, and the Foothill Eastern, which is the 241, 261, and 133 toll roads. And I'm here tonight to present to you the findings of the recent update or the refinancing that we had of our San Joaquin Hills bonds. And I think it's helpful to understand how the roads were financed. So to give you a little history on the agencies themselves, we were formed in 1986 as joint powers authorities to look for the way to solve the transportation problems in Orange County. And so with funding being very scarce in the state, the roads were set up as toll roads. And so they were financed with non-recourse toll revenue bonds that were used then to design, construct, and operate the roads. So now we collect tolls to pay back those bonds. And so that's why this refinancing is so significant, because there are many benefits that the drivers of the roads and even people who choose to use the free routes will benefit from. So the San Joaquin was the first road to be financed initially way back in the 1990s. And since there were very few new toll roads, and especially in California, we knew that once the roads were in place that we would need to refinance them at some point in time. So in 2011, we did have a partial solution for basically building up the revenues and the transactions over time and being able to meet the debt needs. But however, it was just a partial solution, and so part of that requirement was that we were required to maximize tolls every year in exchange for relieving some of the debt covenants. But the good news is that now that the road has performed so strongly, and we had this great interest environment, we were able to refinance the roads and find a complete solution. So now we have the roads are in financially a very strong position on a long-term basis. So there's a couple of things that I just wanted to share with you about the transaction itself. It was very well received by the market. We received offers of $2.4 billion for the $1.4 billion that we issued in bonds. And we were able to achieve all of our goals and basically put the the agency's debt in a long-term sustainable financial position. So what we were able to do is decrease the debt service payments, the growth rate of the debt, and also improve our debt service coverage margins so that we'll be able to withstand any economic downturns in the future, moderate toll rate increases, and also potentially pay off the debt well ahead of the 2050 final maturity date. And then we were also able to do this at a savings of $44 million, so we were very pleased with the results. So I want to highlight just a couple of things very quickly here, some of the benefits that we were able to achieve. We received credit upgrades, credit rating upgrades to investment grade. We also decreased the interest rate that we pay on the bonds by almost 100 basis points. We restored the toll setting authority back to the board of directors, which means that they will be able to implement more inflationary toll rate increases rather than the maximum increases that we've been required to do over the past 3 years that have amounted to about 10% a year. Also, we were able to lower the debt service growth rate from 8.8% over the next 10 years to 1.6%. And we also decreased the maximum annual debt service by $83 million. We also established very strong reserves and liquidity that will help us meet the needs and especially be able to weather any economic downturns. And we also then created the ability to pay down that debt early by using future cash flows. So really what we did is we took the historical performance of the road, the transactions and the revenues, and then we put together a debt structure that was even more conservative than that. So really now the agency, the finances are now very strong and very stable, and we think that will be very good for, like I mentioned, the drivers and your constituents as well. And I wanted to thank our board members as well, and Mayor Bartlett is one of our board members, and appreciate all of the effort and support achieved by them. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions, fellow council members? Okay, great, thank you, Amy. And now we have Barbie Daly, who will make a presentation.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to recognize Mayor Bartlett for her service on the past 7 years on the Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor Agency Board of Directors. The agency's CEO, Mike Cramen, really wanted to be here this evening. Unfortunately, he was on work-related business and not able to be here. However, I'm actually really happy that Mike is unable to be here because it gives me the opportunity to recognize Mayor Bartlett personally. I do have a resolution, which I will present to her in a moment, but I'd rather than read it verbatim. I prefer to speak extemporaneously, but of course with the use of the notes I jotted down. Mayor Bartlett began her service on the board of directors of the Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor Agency in 2007, and immediately took an active role on several ad hoc committees, unselfishly giving of her time. She has been a dedicated advocate to all things toll road related throughout her tenure. Staff has had the pleasure of working with Mayor Bartlett, who has tirelessly dedicated her time and talents to accomplishing the mission of the agency, which is to help relieve traffic congestion in Orange County by increasing mobility and providing alternative routes to the oftentimes congested 5 freeway. Mayor Bartlett's commitment to the goals of the agency is evident as she diligently served as a vice chairwoman for 1 year and served two terms as the chairwoman of the board. As chairwoman, she ensured the agency operated in a fiscally conservative manner while continuing to provide a much-needed public service to the commuters of Orange County and the region. Mayor Bartlett also served on numerous ad hoc committees throughout her tenure, which involved many hours of her time, in addition to the time she spent on the board as the chairman. Mayor Bartlett also stepped up and accepted the appointment as the agency's representative on the Southern California Association of Governments Regional Council. In my opinion, one of the most daunting tasks she had serving on what we call SCAG was the grueling monthly drive she had from here to Los Angeles during peak travel hours. So I want to thank you for doing that. On a personal note, Mayor Bartlett is a joy to work with, Staff really enjoys having her on our board, especially as the chairwoman. And she's always available to discuss issues, answer questions, even on the weekends, which I frequently do call her, this weekend being no exception to that rule. I could go on, but I realize you have a very large agenda this evening. So before I conclude my comments, I just want to say that Mayor Bartlett will be missed as our representative from Dana Point, but we are very happy and looking forward to her continuing her service on our board as the 5th District Supervisor for the County of Orange. So I just want to thank you again for this opportunity to recognize Mayor Bartlett.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to our consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine, and all will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the City Council, the public, or staff request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Are there any items to be removed by staff this evening?
None this evening.
Okay, by the public?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, by either council member here? Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I move the item.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Very good. That passes unanimously. Let's see. We'll now move on to public comments. There will be a 3-minute time limit per person and an overall time limit of 15 minutes for this public comments portion of the agenda. At the mayor's discretion, the balance of the public comments will be heard after the new business portion of the agenda. All comments are to be directed to the City Council and shall not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional, courteous decorum during their comments. State law prohibits the City Council from taking action on a specific item unless it appears on the posted agenda. The City Clerk will distribute any handouts that you may have. We have quite a few. What I'll do is I'll call up about 4 individuals at a time. If you could just queue up behind the podium there to the right, that would be great. Our first speaker is Dan Dailey. When you come up, if you could provide your name and city of residence, that would be great. Thank you. And then after Dan, we have, let's see, Dennis Chase, and then Lindsay Wagner, and Eileen Waters.
Good evening. My name is Dan Dailey. I live at 33558 Hollywood Drive here in Dana Point. November is Alzheimer's Awareness Month. I've had a personal experience with this incredible disease. 12 years ago, I was a conservator for a close friend of mine, and I could see firsthand the devastation that this disease creates. Presently, in the United States, there are 5.5 million people afflicted with this disease. Every 67 seconds, a diagnosis is made for Alzheimer's dementia. In Orange County, there are 84,000 afflicted with the disease. These numbers will continue to increase until we do find a cure. The Alzheimer's Association provides numerous programs and services to individuals and families confronting the disease, and we help them on a daily basis. We have a helpline and other programs that somebody can call for immediate help and immediate responses to any questions that they have. If you know of anyone who is presently pondering the next step, what do I do? How do I cope with this? I urge you to have them call a toll-free number or a helpline at 800-272-3900 or visit our website at alz.org. Thank you for giving me this time to make this announcement, and the best of luck to you, Mayor Bartlett, in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you very much for speaking. I was honored to participate in the Alzheimer's Go Purple OC campaign this year.
Oh, very good,
It's a wonderful
very good.
campaign.
We've had a great year as far as increasing the awareness of the disease. We had 4 walks for Alzheimer's. We had first one in South County here in Laguna Niguel a couple of weeks ago. We finished one last Saturday at the Angels Stadium. We had 8,000 people, which generated $850,000 in funds to help us in our R&D efforts. So again, thank you all for your support and your attention. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Dennis Chase. Dennis, are you here? Okay. We'll move on to Lindsay Wagner.
Hello, I'm Lindsay Wagner. I'm from Capistrano Beach. I've been a resident of Capistrano Beach for over 23 years and a homeowner in town for 15 of the years. Currently, I'm on the corner of Villa California and Villa Cañon. And over the recent years, I've seen many changes to my neighborhood with the influx of sober living, rehab, and halfway homes. The growth of these homes like this in our area has become obscene. On my block alone, there are a total of 5 confirmed sober living homes. This close proximity to an elementary school and families with small children is disturbing. Our neighborhood is becoming institutionalized. I want to give you a glimpse of what it's like to live in an area saturated with recovery homes by sharing a couple of my experiences. Over the past few years, Mr. Sterling of Lighthouse Foundation has acquired 2 homes side by side on Villa Cañon, which is on the back side of my home. These are 2 confirmed halfway homes. During that time he has opened these facilities, we've experienced police parking their cars in my driveway to walk across the street to serve warrants or make arrests for parole violations. We had explained to the police that we do not wish to have the attention drawn to our home because of these actions of these residents. Thankfully, they've honored this request. But now, most recently, Mr. Sterling has purchased from the city of Dana Point the 3 acres of land next to his 2 halfway houses, with the intention of building 6 more group homes of this undetermined nature. If this does happen, that would be 8 halfway homes on Villa Cañon alone. In September, I celebrated my birthday and had a party. During the party, I noticed an intruder. I recognized him from one of the sober living homes down the street. Immediately, I was faced with a stranger who entered through my front door, which was clearly marked private party, no trespassing. When approached, he admitted that he was a recovering addict, saw the party, and just wanted to get some alcohol and leave. For this man to be so brazen as to walk through my front door in search of a quick fix was beyond me. How can I feel safe in my own home knowing that a sober living resident felt enough of a need to walk into my home looking for something to take? What makes it worse is he continues to walk by my home, often glancing inside. Recently, we've noticed a couple missing items from my front garden, so we've currently installed surveillance cameras for added security. Now, one door down from me, there's a newly constructed duplex that has rented out their front unit to a sober living home for women. According to one of the residents, they have 9 women living there currently. The owner has stated he has the intention of turning the other side into a home as well. I'm very supportive of any persons wanting to better themselves through a recovery program, but my concern is the concentration of recovery homes and the institutionalization of my neighborhood. Another concern is the amount of residents in one home. It seems a bit excessive. I would like to know if the residents have been evaluated before being placed into homes so close to families with small children like my own, as well as being a block away from an elementary school. It seems to me that someone has turned a blind eye to this issue and not properly monitoring these types of homes that are popping up next door to each other and all over the neighborhood. Thank you guys very much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Eileen Waters.
My name is Eileen Waters, and 11 years ago, my husband and I chose to make Capistrano Beach our home and to raise our children here. We were drawn primarily to the area because of the strong family orientation and the stability of the people. Most have lived within the region for at least 10 years. We have invested not only our hard-earned dollars, but also ourselves, and we're friends with our neighbors. So tonight, my friends and I appeal to you, our elected city council, because there is an ever-increasing problem in our neighborhood. We are being inundated with these sober living facilities, and we need you to understand the scope of this and how dire the situation is for us. Before I present statistics, We want you to know that we applaud the efforts of those facing the long road of recovery, and we hope they defy the odds and conquer their demons. But that being said, the proliferation of these facilities within Capistrano Beach is severe, and our concerns are the very same as every other Southern California community plagued with this growing housing trend. Secondhand smoke, loitering, excessive traffic, crowded parking, littering, and the list goes on. But we in Capo are especially incensed by the ridiculously high concentration of these houses in our neighborhood. On our street alone, we have 3 within 9 homes and another 2 halfway houses 1 block over. That's 5, and that's just not acceptable. The American Planning Association recommends that community residences be scattered throughout residential districts rather than concentrated in any single neighborhood or on a single block. We likely all know by now that Newport Beach has been battling this very issue for the better part of a decade, and over the last 7 years, they've been able to reduce the volume of homes by 70% just by adopting new ordinances for group housing. They now have 29 sober living homes within 24 square miles and a population of 87,000 people. Right next door, Costa Mesa has 200 of these facilities now in 16 square miles for 112,000 people. That equates to 13 sober living homes per square mile. And that may be shocking, but Capistrano Beach very likely could be set for worse. We have about 7,400 people in 2 square miles, and within that minute footprint, we have 20 confirmed sober living homes. That's 10 per square mile, 1 for every 155 homes. And this does not take into consideration any unconfirmed properties. We feel the very core of our life in Capistrano Beach is at risk, but we feel forced to endure it because sober living programs are actually highly profitable businesses, with property owners getting higher than market value rent and program facilitators receiving anywhere from $1,100 to $5,000 per resident per month. And there are so many layers and loopholes enabling them to operate their businesses within our residential areas that it's maddening. And as a taxpayer and a homeowner, I want to know how anyone can justify such a large concentration of group homes in this area and how they're beneficial to our community. They're a drain on our civil services as growing issues and complaints are dealt with, and what happens when they become the part of the dramatic percentage of the people who fail in their rehabilitation efforts? What then? We just feel that the whole community will suffer and we'll all become victims. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next 4 speakers are Brian Noakes, Patricia OKeefe, Bob Thiel, and Mary Geiselman.
Mayor, council members. My name is Brian Noakes. I've been in Capistrano Beach, a resident there, a homeowner for a little over 32 years now. So I'm actually going to read a speech that was written by a neighbor of mine that she had just had a family emergency, so they asked me to read her speech. So I do definitely agree with everything I'm going to read here, and as well as the other ladies that have spoken. Anne-Marie is her name. Anne-Marie and her husband have been in their home for over 14 years. They chose their home because it was in a quiet, eclectic neighborhood with thoughtful, down-to-earth people. Well, now we are surrounded by rehab, halfway homes, and sober living homes. Within 1 block, I have 5 of these types of home, 1 registered sex offender, when the police come out quite frequently to speak with him, and a home that is often rented to drug addicts. In fact, last July, the coroner had to remove the body of a young man who had overdosed there during the night. Our children just got home from school, and I got home from work, and we saw his body being removed. Anne-Marie and her husband work very hard to raise their 3 boys and pay a mortgage. They have made all the right decisions to afford to live in an upscale neighborhood, and now they have to live next door to those who have chosen to do the exact opposite. I applaud those individuals who are trying to turn their lives around for the better, but the truth is Capitol Beach is saturated with these types of homes. In fact, of all the homes we suspect are confirmed as sober living homes, we now have 1 home for every 155 households, just like the other ladies had spoken about. 9 times that of San Clemente and 10 times that of Newport Beach. What will happen to the neighborhood when the Lighthouse Foundation follows through with their development of the property on Villa Canyon? As you know, they have stated to add 4 to 6 more group homes right next to 2 they already have. We're asking you tonight to put an end to the unregulated sober living homes before Capitol Beach is turned into a rehab paradise. There's a reason cities like Costa Mesa, Newport Beach, San Bernardino, and Los Angeles have created ordinance to regulate group homes. If they didn't limit the volume, their communities would become institutionalized. We would also like more resources within the Code Enforcement Department to investigate and act on homes suspected of illegally housing more than 6 people. We have found several through our research that break this capacity limit requirement. We also need them to address the excessive noise, profanity, smoking, and parking issues. We're not sure that your current staff is adequate to handle all these complaints and suggest that you hire more if necessary. We're not asking anyone to discriminate against these individuals, but ask that you address the negative behaviors that affect all members of our community. There needs to be more oversight to ensure the safety of our families and neighborhood from these potentially dangerous and destructive individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Patricia OKeefe.
Good evening. My name is Patricia OKeefe, co-chair of Capo Cares and native to Capistrano Beach. Good evening, Mayor Bartlett and councilmen. Tonight you have heard various appeals from your constituents, voters who put their trust in you to keep their neighborhoods and their quality of life at great standards and to keep public safety everywhere. Our colleagues and neighbors have stated the following. Fact number 1, there is a growing number of sober living homes and halfway houses in Dana Point, and then most of them are concentrated in Capistrano Beach. Fact number 2, the sheer number of these group homes is changing the very nature of our safe, traditional family neighborhoods in Capistrano Beach. And this is creating nuisances such as transient populations, secondhand smoke and cigarette butts, narcotics debris, needles, baggies, and unsavory behavior in front of children and their parents. Fact number 3, many of your constituents are unfairly burdened and unsafe. They feel unsafe in their homes, and they are pleading for your help as their neighborhood is taken over by group homes and becoming institutionalized. Fact number 4, Section 11834.20 of the State of California Health and Safety Code states each county and city shall permit a sufficient number of rehab facilities which commensurate with local needs. The number of sober living homes in Capo Beach far exceeds local needs and that of neighboring cities. Based on national stats, Capo Beach should have 3 group homes. We have 20. That is 7 times local need. Or, as my friend said, 1 group home per 155 homes. Fact number 5, this council recently sold a parcel of land to Lighthouse Foundation for $3.6 million. This developer, Mr. Sterling, stated this would be for group homes and that he would add 6 more group homes to this property alone. If this is allowed, our small neighborhood will have 26 of these group homes. In light of this, we specifically ask that City Council, 1, call a moratorium on all kinds of group homes until this issue is researched. 2, request legal counsel to draft an ordinance limiting the number of group homes per block, per square mile, and per capita to prevent clustering. And 3, improve public safety in Capo Beach, specifically by increasing the police presence, enforce codes, and improve street lighting. Public safety is our basic right and expectation of all constituents. We hope you recognize the urgency of this issue and act accordingly. And we have a packet of information which we've filed with the city clerk, which provides documentation to support our request. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, please. Nancy, order, please. Our next speaker is Bob Thiel.
Good evening, Mayor Bartlett and councilmen. My name is Bob Thiel. I'm a resident of Dana Point. About 5 weeks ago, a homeowner who lives across the street from Stillwater walked to my house, dropped off some paperwork. The paperwork was an August 2014 petition to the ABC from Stillwater requesting to, among other things, expand the hours of sales and consumption of alcohol and provide entertainment both inside and outside. The outside patio is a full-on sports bar complete with 4 televisions and completely independent of the inside bar. Presently, the outside sports bar is supposed to close at 11:30 on Friday and Saturday, and 10:30 weeknights, and I think that's reasonable. Those are reasonable hours. The petition requests the outside hours for the sports bar to be extended to 1 o'clock in the morning, 7 days a week. Currently, the noise is easily heard across Del Prado and is very loud, really loud, and it will get worse if they're open until 1 in the morning. Why should I care? Because I closed escrow in 2015 for the half-acre vacant lot across the street with plans to build retail space at the street level with 20 for-sale living units above. This is consistent with the Town Center specific plan, which encourages living units in the Town Center Lantern District. Now, when we sell the condominium units, we're required to include full disclosure in the sales agreement. This disclosure will have to include advising the buyers that they shouldn't expect to go to sleep until sometime after 1 in the morning. There is an existing use permit with 17 conditions allowing for a 603 square foot dining patio at Stillwater. But the Stillwater Sports Bar patio is over double that size. How do you get from an outside 600 square foot dining patio to an increased change in use and intensity of an outside 1,200 square foot full-on sports bar with televisions, liquor sales, and consumption? Shouldn't the city should have amended the existing use permit? And wouldn't the city then have to notify the neighbors of this change in intensity of use that has such a negative impact? Lastly, the ABC licensing representative told a resident across the street from Stillwater that it probably won't do any good to talk to the city council because they are in favor of the petition's extension of hours. Really? Really? Where did that come from? Anyway, I'm requesting the city council send a letter to ABC objecting to the extension of hours. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mary Geiselman. And then our final set of speakers will be Keith Fullenwinder, Michael MacPhail, Gregory Jones, Jim Miller, and Richard Gardner.
Good evening, Mayor Bartlett and councilmen. My name is Mary Gieselman, and my husband and I have lived in Dana Point for about 31 years. Our current home we've been in for about 15 years. We live across the street from Stillwater Restaurant and Bar. Our neighborhood has been putting up with extreme noise from the Stillwater for the past few years. The noise disturbed our otherwise peaceful neighborhood, which was built in approximately 1985 and forward. The pounding bass of the music and the patrons yelling and screaming make it very difficult to fall asleep at night. Even if Stillwater's doors are closed, you can hear the pounding music all the way down Old Golden Lantern to the Doris Walker Overlook in Heritage Park. Quite frankly, it's absolutely outrageous to us that Stillwater has no consideration for its neighbors. We were blindsided by the building of the outdoor sports bar, including multiple TVs, a service bar, and about 1,000 or so square feet of outdoor space and seating. When this huge change happened, our neighborhood was never put on notice by the city. Why weren't we notified? This issue was recently reignited when ABC notified us a few months ago that Stillwater had applied to them for increased hours of operations. You might say that that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Up until then, maybe we should have been louder about it. They were requesting to extend their hours for the outside sports bar till 1 a.m. 7 days a week. They've requested to extend the inside bar hours till 2 a.m. 7 days a week. Tomorrow I will deliver to the city clerk for distribution to you 12 letters from our neighborhood which were sent to ABC fairly recently about the issue. Shortly thereafter, I will send about another 20 letters that have already been written to ABC as soon as I have my fellow homeowners' approval or permission to send their letters. Over the last 4 years, code enforcement people and planning department staff at the city have been very nice to us, but they've gently shuffled us over to ABC and the sheriff department. Our neighborhood has made over 20 calls to the police department and nothing's ever happened. The city has shown no interest in enforcing a noise ordinance. When Stillwater expanded their bar operations to the outside patio and duplicated their inside bar operations by building another bar outside with televisions, did the city require a conditional use permit to regulate the noise and hours of operations? We simply cannot go on like this. We thought we were fighting by calling and sending letters to ABC and calling the sheriff department. That hasn't worked. So now I think you'll be seeing a lot more of us from our neighborhood and hearing from us to see what we can do. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Keith Fullenwinder.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. My name is Keith Fullenwinder, resident of Capistrano Beach since 1975. I'm here tonight to speak about the sober living homes that proliferate in Capistrano Beach, but I want to preface my remarks and observations by the fact that I've had a long-term personal involvement dating back to the early 1970s with family members, relatives, close friends, neighbors, and coworkers that have dealt with sobriety and their efforts to achieve sobriety and with the disease of alcoholism and drug abuse. But my concern is that since living in Capistrano Beach since 1975, I've seen a very small, close-knit, long-term residents, eclectic mix of families. I've seen this neighborhood from 1975 turn into that type of a neighborhood, into a business district. Because let's be honest, these sober living homes are a very lucrative business, and they are starting to proliferate, as other speakers have addressed in our neighborhood. The California Health and Safety Code permits and encourages these types of sober living homes, but I have yet in my research found who is performing the oversight of these. Are they licensed to operate these sober living homes? Who are the people that are supervising the residents of these super living homes? Does the city of Dana Point get any feedback from the state on these observations and inspections and so forth of these sober living homes? Local needs was addressed by a previous speaker. Well, what are local needs? Is that people throughout the United States? Are we, Dana Point, going to be the sober living area for local people, i.e. citizens of the United States, or are these sober living homes to be set up for the local needs of the city of Dana Point? In closing, I want to read you verbatim from one of the recovery businesses in Capistrano Beach from their website, and I quote, "Dana Point, California, located in Orange County, is considered by many to be the #1 recovery community in the world with high success and life-changing recovery." I don't think that's the message we want to see to people moving into Capistrano Beach or Dana Point or businesses and anybody else, that we are not a city of a beautiful harbor and nice restaurants and businesses and lovely homes and a great place to raise a family. I don't think people want to see this kind of information put out on the internet. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please. Order. Our next speaker is Michael MacPhail.
Hello. Relative to your other speakers, I'm a relative newcomer. I've only lived in Capistrano Beach for about 2.5 years. I wanted to make a couple of comments. First of all, I'm a physician, and as a reflection of that, I have no lack of compassion for the needs of the people that are being served by these businesses. I did want to make a couple of comments owing to my unique perspective. First of all, I live immediately adjacent to one of these houses, and as a result of that, I get to experience a steady stream of, as others have mentioned, secondhand smoke, vulgarity, and a frankly somewhat transient population that's very unpredictable. One thing that I will mention that I have also experienced is the recent death of one of the members of the sober house behind me, which I found very unsettling and taking a concern about the elements that were being introduced to in our community to a different level altogether. I will also point out that I live in a house that up until its purchase by me was in fact a sober house. And I got to see firsthand how they operate from the inside upon visiting this while I was considering buying this. This house that I live in had 12, count them, 12 beds in a single family dwelling, meaning that they were housing at least 12 individuals at a given time in this one house. I realized that anybody else who had 12 unrelated individuals living in a house not protected by the Americans with Disabilities Act would be subject to code enforcement, which would not permit this. And I urge you to consider avenues that will either regulate this or at least allow for the registration so that there's some kind of awareness by the people in the community of the people who are living within it. And I really have nothing else to add to the other presentations that have been made, but I do think this is an important point that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Gregory Jones.
Ms. Mayor, council members, my name's Gregory or Greg Miller Jones. I live at Avenida Las Palmas, Calle Rosita and Avenida Las Palmas, 26742. So like many, just by a show of hands, how many people are here for Capo Cares and for Capo Beach? So that right there tells me how important this issue is to the community. And ladies, I just want to say the amount of detail that you guys put together would make many banker analysts very, very proud. The detail was excellent, and it was to the point. I want to be a little bit emotional, and I'm going to do it eloquently as I can. In the last 3 months, and everyone here has spoken absolute truths. I've had neighbors come up to me, and they ask me to speak to the subject tonight, and that's why I'm here. We could talk about cigarette smoke, cigarette butts, foul language. We could talk about gross incompetence of these halfway house managers that are relatively few and infrequent in their actual management of the houses. But I want to talk to you about specifically what's happened in the last 3 months at Calle Rosita and Las Palmas. Number one, overdose, death. I think 3 people have mentioned it, at least 2. Number 2, in my driveway at 3:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday, 2 of these members tried to enter my house while I wasn't home, while my wife and 2 kids were home, walk up my stairs. They were arrested in my driveway. My son couldn't go to a soccer practice with mommy that day because he had to stay in the back of the house. That's unacceptable. Not in Dana Point. That doesn't happen. Lastly, 2 weeks ago, I had to chase down one of these sober living home residents down Las Palmas into one of my neighbor's yards where her husband picked up the pursuit as he jumped the fence into the next neighbor's yard. We had a police helicopter, as if there's any law enforcement here, well knows, over my home for at least 3 hours that day. And I would venture to guess at least 20 patrol cars. We don't live in South Central Los Angeles, and I'm not picking on economically deprived areas of LA County for any reason, but it's unacceptable and something needs to be done. Lastly, and I'm going to finish with this point, I honestly think if something isn't really done to take control of this issue, I honestly think there's going to be vigilante action by people in the community that are going to have repercussions here that nobody wants. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm going to stop now. I thank you for your time, and everyone here, thank you for coming.
Our next speaker is Jim Miller.
Good evening. My name is Jim Miller. I'm a resident of Dana Point for the past 35 years. First of all, the residents of Capistrano Beach, I'm sorry to hear about that, but I really appreciate you bringing that to our attention. I had no idea that was going on, and I support everything you're saying. I'm sorry to see that our neighborhoods are going through that. Thank you. On a little bit lighter note, I'm just here tonight to, actually as a compliment, and I'd like to compliment the 4 major hotels. I'd like to compliment for their vision. I'd like to compliment the T-Bid. I'd like to compliment the City of Dana Point for their support in all matters, and a big thanks to Agency 51 for getting the ball rolling on bringing Illumination to Dana Point. I think it's absolutely a fantastic thing for the citizens of Dana Point that don't know what's coming. It's going to be from December 26th to January 4th. It's from 5 o'clock at night till 10 o'clock at night, and it's absolutely the most incredible light show you'll ever see in the city of Dana Point and maybe anywhere in South Orange County. Pardon me?
It's actually November 26th.
Thank you.
Through
You're right,
January
November. Thank you. 40 nights. 40 nights of lights. The best part of this concept to me is that the T-Bid Group, the City of Dana Point, the County of Orange, the OC Dana Point Harbor, and the State of California Doheny Beach are all working together to make this holiday season and start the new great event in the City of Dana Point for the thousands of people to enjoy the holiday. And I think it's really great that everybody in the community is working together to make this happen. This is truly a community event started by the T-Bid Group, and I thank them for that. So for everyone, thank you, and I hope we have a great holiday season coming up. Come see Illumination. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final speaker this evening is Richard Gardner.
Good evening, council people. Lisa. I'm Gardner from Capistrano Beach. I didn't come to speak about sober living. I actually came to mention that I had attended a meeting this week in San Juan Capistrano regarding a presentation of a skateboard park. And I was very impressed with the presentation. It was put on by a gentleman named Aaron Spahn, who builds and designs skate parks all over the United States and even Canada, I think he mentioned. There were a lot of people very interested, and there were all kinds of positive vibrations that were being given off of young people who attend these skate parks end up being really model citizens. They're not out doing stuff that gets them in trouble, and they end up building an ownership of the facilities. It's really kind of a wonderful thing. Then coming in here, I notice you have a big yard right next to the rec center here. Big empty space, the county parks a few picnic tables. And I remember when we used to have I think it was kind of like rollerblading set up over there. And I think that the staff or people are looking into, is there an opportunity for skateboard park in the city? And I'm looking at this place right next door, and I'm thinking, this is perfect, right? Not far from Rec Center. You got the ball fields. Could put a skate park in there pretty easy. It'd be a wonderful place right here in Dana Point that would accommodate our kids. So that's an obvious thing that I think should be on the list to look at. And then maybe regarding the sober living things, maybe if you got people that are complaining that the bars are staying open too late, maybe you ought to zone it up so that the sober living had to be there at the bar, upstairs, and then we'll see who survives, Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. And while the city cannot take any action this evening regarding the sober living home issue because this issue is not agendized, I would highly recommend that the Capo Cares group contact our city manager and meet with our staff and our chief of police, Russ Chilton. Perhaps the new council, when they're seated on December the 2nd,
might be able to consider a task force like we did with the homelessness task force. We could set up possibly a sober living task force and working with city staff, the community at large, and to make sure that the public safety issues are addressed and we move forward in a fashion where the community feels comfortable and safe. So just my comments.
Mayor Bartlett, if I could, I'd just like to add to your comments so that we can get some immediate action going tonight. I've had a sober living home on my street, and it's interesting because past Mayor Laura Anderson lived on my street, and the sober living home was right next door to hers. And one would think that if the city could do something, it would do something for the mayor. But having said that, what I want to do is this, is that one of the things, we have our chief of police here, Russ Chilton, and Russ has had a business in town for over 20 years with his wife, Janice, J.C. Beans. He's been a longtime resident, been a patrol officer or deputy here in town. And so he knows the town just as well as just about anyone. And one of the things that I want to do is, if you would, and it's interesting because I know Mike Killebrew, our assistant city manager, longtime resident, I think he's on his second or third sober living home on his street since he's been in town. So it's just not Gapple Beach. We're all familiar with it, but our hands are extremely tied. One of the things that I think we can do immediately, especially with this group of people in the room, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Mike Killebrew to meet you in the hallway after oral communication, and if he could get some contact information, he's going to pass it off to Russ Chilton, and we're going to see what we can do to help jumpstart some neighborhood watch groups in the Capitol Beach area in the coming weeks. That way, we can set up a formal dialogue so when you see something that doesn't look right, you don't have to chase them down an alley. You can call us, or we're aware of the problems because we have a commitment to community-based policing. So that's what I'd like to do tonight. I also want to let you know that just as Dana Point, cities take turns taking on issues. As I think everybody here is aware, we took on the issue of medical marijuana, and at great expense, we ran that out of town. Having said that, the city of Newport Beach, as everybody knows, has taken this issue on. And there's two types of sober living homes. There's the licensed and the non-licensed, and it sounds like we're dealing with the non-licensed, or at least we were on my street. What I'd like to do is, if Mr. Munoz is prepared, if he can, and we do follow it very closely because it's going through the courts and the appellate courts as we speak. So what I'd like to do is ask Patrick if you're comfortable just to give an update on it, but after he's done, if you could meet Mr. Killebrew over here, give him some contact information. I know the chief and I would love to set up some neighborhood watch and jumpstart that in the area so that we can have something in the interim as we get the new council on board, and the new council can tell me how they'd like to deal with it. Okay? Patrick?
Sure. The city manager mentioned that our hands are tied to some degree, and that's a result of two factors. The first is the state legislature, which has basically passed a law that says if you're operating a group home with 6 or less residents, that we are required to treat it as a regular residential residence. And our hands are tied in terms of how we can regulate those obvious businesses. We're forced to treat them like it's actually a residence. The second aspect that's become troublesome is that the fair housing laws have come into play, and the group home operators have made allegations that their clients are, in essence, disabled persons suffering from diseases or health issues that are entitled to not be discriminated against because of their disability. And the courts have affirmed that. It's unfortunate from where we sit, but those are the cards that we're dealt that we have to deal with. The city of Newport Beach came up with an ordinance that they worked very hard on. It wasn't just the city, by the way, that was involved. There was an entire coalition of cities that got together. There was a symposium that the city hosted where input from all over the county and even from outside the county came together. A lot of legal minds were involved. Our office was heavily involved in assisting with the process to try and come up with a way to regulate group homes that would pass muster, that would survive challenge by the courts. The group homes challenged the city's ordinance. the district court, that's the federal court where the trial occurred, ruled on something called a motion for summary judgment. So there wasn't a trial. The judge got to decide the issue, and the judge ruled that the ordinance was not discriminatory, that it was fair and it was appropriate. Unfortunately, there was an appeal to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal. The Ninth Circuit overturned the trial court, and what the Ninth Circuit said is that based on the record, the case has to go to trial. It didn't necessarily say that the city's going to lose. A motion for summary judgment is a very sort of specialized legal tool that we use as lawyers, and what we in essence do is say to the judge, look, judge, based on the facts that are not in dispute, we should win. And that's what the judge did in that case and agreed. What the sober living home operator argued was that there are facts that are in dispute that the court should have taken into consideration, and if there are facts in dispute that are relevant to the outcome, then the case should go to trial. So what has occurred is that the case is being sent back down to the trial court, and there will be a trial now, assuming that the city of Newport Beach keeps pursuing it. The outcome could be good, and you know the district court could rule that it's not discriminatory. If that occurs, then there's no question in my mind that it'll go to the Court of Appeal. If the Court of Appeal upholds it, then we'll have a model ordinance that we, when I say we, I mean all the cities in Orange County and up and down the states, could adopt as a means to regulate these homes. And there's some key issues that the city addressed that are things that we would love to address. I mean, there are obvious issues to me. Things like if you have a group of homes owned by the same operator that are close together to each other, that you don't get the benefit of being treated like your individual homes. You're actually an operation that has multiple campuses, and you should be treated like that. There are efforts to say that if you have multiple homes like that, or if you have more than 6 residents, that you can't be in a residential neighborhood, you can only be in a commercial area, or in some cases in a multifamily area where it's more appropriate than it would be in a single family area. A lot of things that would address the kinds of concerns that you're all experiencing have been thought through, and unfortunately, an ordinance that's very much like an ordinance we would love to adopt was deemed to not be constitutionally valid for purposes of a summary judgment motion, and that's really important to bear in mind. The case isn't over. There'll be another opportunity for those important legal issues to be decided. In the meantime, it doesn't mean that we are completely powerless. Bear in mind that and one of the things that I heard tonight that really caught my attention, it's certainly something that I'll be working on with our community policing team, is this. They can only operate in your neighborhood if they have 6 beds or fewer. If you have information that there is 12 beds in a particular home, call us, let us know. There are things that we can do. I mean, that's patently a violation of the law, and it's something that we can enforce. If we have evidence that someone is littering, it's a small thing, but there's a $1,000 fine for littering, and if we have evidence that someone is littering on public property, there's things that we can do. The fact that we cannot regulate them for their group home operation is different than meaning that we are powerless to enforce other laws against them if they are violating laws. So let us know. And I think creating perhaps a task force of some sort where we can better communicate with what's become a very organized group, which is helpful for us, will be a potential path to success, at least on the most egregious operators. You are not powerless as individuals. There's only so much the city can do in terms of enforcing the laws that apply to the public. Bear in mind that if you're being subjected to nuisance conditions, you are certainly able to enforce your own rights. I'd be happy to participate maybe in a sit-down kind of discussion to throw around some ideas of what you might be able to do, and nobody wants to go out and have to hire their own lawyer, but certainly if your property value is going down because of nuisance conditions next door, people smoking constantly, throwing cigarette butts into your yard, you would be entitled to sue the owner of that property for creating nuisances at your property. So through maybe a coordinated approach to not address the fact that people are living in group homes, which is something that we need to be very careful about, but to address the secondary effects, or perhaps better stated, the illegal other things that are going on, we may be able to at least put a dent in some of the most egregious things that are occurring. And as the city manager suggested, perhaps through a coordinated effort that we can start as early as tonight with some communications with Mr. Killebrew, we can start down that path.
You know, and again, I think the important part is starting Neighborhood Watch yesterday. And so again, please give Mr. Killebrew your contact information. And then I will ask the chief to ask Sergeant Himmel and his community-based policing team to arrange a meeting in a form much like this, and then we can take a look at the map. A lot of the information has already been prepared, so it's not like we have to recreate history. So I think if we have that initial meeting, we can then come up with a tactical program of dealing with it until such time we hopefully get the remedies we desire through the court system. So with that, Mayor Bartlett, I apologize for the long-winded response, but given the community outpouring tonight, I thought it would be, it's the least we could do.
No, I think that's very helpful to, I think the Neighborhood Watch program is definitely something that's very important. Senator Tom Harmon tried to get SB 1000 passed a number of years ago when he was a state senator. And this had to do with not allowing the concentration of sober living homes in residential neighborhoods. But he wasn't able to get traction with that in the legislature because there wasn't enough community support. You've got legislators that you can get in contact with. They can put legislation into effect. You now have Bill Breaux on the Dana Point City Council, who is going to be our new assemblyman for the 73rd District. Pat Bates is going to be our senator up in Sacramento. So talk to your legislators because they serve on a number of committees in Sacramento. Talk to them and explain the situation and the issues because they have the ability to propose legislation at the state level to get something passed on a statewide basis. But you've got to get communities involved. You've got to talk to your legislators, and that may be another recourse to pursue. So just wanted to provide that information to you, to take a look at all avenues for options to get a good result. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll now move on to our public hearings. Item number 17 is our Dana Point Tourism Business Improvement District Annual Report and Renewal for 2015 with related contract. Could we have a staff report, please?
Yes, Mayor Bartlett, if you could just indulge me for about 2 or 3 minutes as the folks leave. Mike Killebrew needs to come in to participate in this.
No. Since we have a number of people leaving, why don't we take a 5-minute break? You could take their seats. We're going to reconvene our city council meeting. We'll now have the public hearing for item number 17, Dana Point Tourism Business District Annual Report and Renewal for 2015 related contract. Could we have a staff report, please?
Thank you, Mayor Bartlett. If I could, I'd like to ask Mr. Killebrew if he could please provide the staff report associated with tonight's action.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, you're here to obviously conduct a public hearing, adopt a resolution to continue the T-bid program and the assessments for the 2015 calendar year. Really quickly, the T-bid's been in place and collecting assessments since January 2010. Proposed tonight would be the 5th year of the program. The T-bid includes the St. Regis, Ritz-Carlton, Doubletree, and Marriott. And just to put a little bit of perspective on their impact on the city, their operations provide 50% of the city's general fund revenues when you combine the hotel bed tax, property tax, and sales tax. And they also employ over 1,700 employees. The 2015 plan, the budget for it includes $800,000 for event marketing, $475,000 for meetings marketing, $180,000 for leisure, and $482,000 for creative marketing management. The anticipated budget for the year includes about $850,000 to $950,000 worth of assessments next year, and we're looking to carry over about $1.2 million. So the total budget for this would be about $2.1 million available, and the proposal on the expenditure side is just a little over $1.9 million. That concludes our report. Oh, other than to mention, as Mr. Miller mentioned earlier, we do have a major investment that's going to kick off in a week or so for the Illumination event, 40 nights of holiday lights. The TBID has committed a little over $1 million toward getting that up and running this year, which includes a large amount of capital investment for one time basically, and there'll be ongoing investments in the future years that includes not only storing all the displays, but reinstalling them and tearing them down next year as well. So with that, I'm ready to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from council members? Nope, okay. We'll now open up the public hearing. Oh, or they said no. Okay, Councilmember Rivera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Killebrew, everybody's really excited about the upcoming illumination, and I think this is going to be one of the biggest things, another long-term annual event that the city can have, and I hope it really works out pretty well. In looking at the report that we're given, we also got in October, we got the Dana Point Tourism Business Improvement District Annual Report and Renewal for 2015, which says it will set the date for the public hearing for renewal on November the 18th, which is today. This is back in October. So tonight we're really here just to approve this recommendation, which I fully support, but I'd like some more leeway in the council being able to renew this contract or recommend the TBID to look at possibly renewing different contracts with different agencies other than Agency 51. Is that possible to do that in the future?
We'd have to obviously go back to the TBID board and see if they would be interested in going out to bid again for that, and that'd obviously be a several-month process. Just to let you know, Agency 51 is pretty integral to a lot of the programs that they're running with the events marketing and bringing in new conferences into town and everything, in addition to helping out with Illumin and the myriad of other things that are going on with marketing and PR work. So as far as suggesting or making any kind of recommendation, I wouldn't recommend doing that tonight, but if you want us to carry a message back to the TBID board, we could certainly do that.
I'd appreciate that, and yes, I don't expect any action tonight on doing that. The only other thing, too, is that the council was promised to have quarterly reports, and we were short one quarter this year. The report that we got in October was for quarter 2 and 3, and so we didn't actually get a quarter report. You might want to ask the TBID panel or group to look at how come we were short a report for that. But other than that, I support the action and I move the action.
Okay, well, we have a public hearing, so I've got to open up. Mayor Pro Tem Weinberg, do you have any comments? Okay, why don't we open up the public hearing? Do we have any requests to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
Well, then I will close the public hearing and bring it back to council discussion and for a vote. The illumination program, if you haven't seen it, they've actually started putting up the structures in Dana Point Harbor. It's $1 million project. They're going to start it in the harbor this year and then spread out to the rest of Dana Point over the course of time. It's a major investment by our TBID, and you can take a look down by the Ocean Institute in Baby Beach right now. They've actually put up some of these as a kind of a little pilot to make sure that everything is operational, and you'll view them with 3D glasses. And I saw it the other night when I was at a board meeting at the Ocean Institute, and everything was lit up, and it's absolutely phenomenal. This is going to draw a lot of people into our city, down to the harbor, and into our restaurants, and it's just going to be wonderful for Dana Point. This will be one of our new signature events that we'll have for many years to come, so I'm really excited about this. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Okay, and that passes. We now move on to item number 18. It's the hearing on amendments to Coastal Development Permit CDP 13-0018 for development, otherwise referred to as the Commercial Core Project, a parking management plan, a master sign program, and approvals and concept for Dana Point Harbor. Could we have a staff report, please?
Of course, Mayor Bartlett. At this time, I'd like to do is invite Ursula and her staff to provide an overview presentation. So, Ursula.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. The matter before you this evening is approval of an amendment to a coastal development permit, CDP 13-0018, for development otherwise referred to as the Dana Point Harbor Commercial Core Project. The City Council approved this CDP at a de novo hearing on June 17th of this year. The approval was appealed to the California Coastal Commission by Bruce Heyman on June 27th. A separate appeal was filed on behalf of Coastal Commissioners Mary Schallenberger and Dr. Robert Garcia on July 8th of 2014. Both of those dates are within the appropriate timelines. Subsequent to filing the appeals, county and city staff met with Coastal Commission staff to discuss issues and concerns. Additional project findings, minor plan design changes, and supplemental information related to certain technical studies were requested by Coastal Commission staff. As a result of these discussions, the applicant desires to amend CDP-130018 to address these concerns as further detailed in the staff report. An additional condition of approval, in addition to those included in the resolution, has been provided to you tonight at your dais for your consideration. Staff recommends approval of CDP-130018I, which is the amended CDP, with the additional condition. City and county staff are available to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from council members? All right, I'll open up the public hearing. Do we have any requests to speak from the public? Okay, we'll start with William Bird. If you could come to the podium and state your name and city of residence, please.
Good evening, Council. My name is William Bird. I live in San Juan Capistrano. I'm the owner of Capo Beach Watercraft, a family-owned watercraft rental business in Dana Point Harbor. The CDP allows for a stacked storage building, eliminating our 30-year business at its present location. OC Dana Point Harbor Department Director Brad Gross publicly stated to the Dana Point Planning Commission on 5/12/14, and I quote, most specifically, "We are keeping our merchants and restaurants open throughout construction," end quote. Capo Beach Watercraft requires docks in the water to remain open. Mr. Gross has misled the California Coastal Commission, the Dana Point Planning Commission, and the Dana Point City Council by failing to disclose the existence of our business, the VMP boat rental business, as well as the 9 Embarcadero tenant overnight boat slips. Mr. Gross refuses to address a relocation for our business and has recently prevented the execution of a new lease for Capo Beach Watercraft. The planned retail expansion should not be at the expense of our business. We put approximately 10,000 people on the water each year. The state of California Tidelands grant provides primary protection for a business like ours, and we should have been included in the planning. 3 minutes is not enough time to fully explain our situation, so I will answer a question you probably have. Why did I wait so long to expose our exclusion in the project? My answer, I have been manipulated, lied to, and held hostage with the promise of a new lease since Mr. Gross was appointed. It is obvious by now that Mr. Gross has something to hide. It is not normal for a grown man to quickly exit the room at public meetings to avoid hearing our family's public comments and to avoid being questioned by you. There should be complete transparency relative to this project, not the case here. To further validate my concerns, I have something to announce to the boaters. I don't see many in the audience today. Mr. Gross stored his private boat in the Embarcadero dry storage lot for approximately 6 weeks earlier this year without executing a required written contract. He failed to pay the required fees due at signing and failed to provide the required $300,000 liability insurance. Mr. Gross's boat did not display current 2014 California DMV registration tags, and it would be questionable as to whether the county unsecured property taxes were paid, as DMV Sacramento does not have a record of his boat. This, according to VMP office staff, computer records, photographic evidence, and a VMP tenant. I reported a similar abuse of power by Mr. Gross to Supervisor Bates' office earlier this year. Mayor Bartlett, I will be contacting you the first week of January to set up a meeting. I am hopeful You, as the new 5th District Supervisor, will direct the appropriate subordinate to include Capitol Beach Watercraft in the plan, including reopening negotiations for a new lease, and put a stop to Mr. Gross's unethical behavior. If Mr. Gross disputes the validity of any of my comments tonight, he's being disingenuous to everyone in attendance. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Our next speaker is Jeff Stoffel. And Mr. Stoffel will be followed by James Lenthal.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Stoffel, and I live at 34300 Lantern Bay and Unit 24, and have owned the property for nearly 16 years. I'm also in the real estate business, and I'm very concerned about the proposal and the height of the buildings in the marina. I'm all in favor of the growth and development as long as the businesses are preserved. I think that's critical. And as far as the enjoyment of the area that the homeowners have, though my particular house or condominium is not severely affected by the height of the buildings, it is going to be affected. My neighbors, though, are going to be severely affected, and it's going to cost thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars in property values to people that are your constituents, people that care about Dana Point, people that enjoy the use and the enjoyment. Statistically, it's very easy to document. In our complex alone, units without a view can be $200,000 less than units with a view, and it's substantial. And there's many homeowners that are going to be grossly affected that purchased their properties with the understanding that they were going to enjoy a view, going to enjoy the area, and that's going to be taken away. The changes in some of the heights of the structures in the harbor concern me. And then when I hear tonight some of the limitations, or not the limitations, some of the manipulations of the city in restaurants, or the Stillwater issue, it concerns me that now we're going to have at the harbor different things that are approved, and then there's going to be modifications, and then all of a sudden the height of the buildings, the roof lines, the structures, the dry storage are going to be much more severe than what are being proposed. And I think Dana Point has a lot of serious issues. They've accomplished massive amounts of wonderful things over the last few years, and you don't want to turn into some of the other cities around us. Dana Point is unique. It's an incredible area, and I don't really think you like the idea of driving out some of the homeowners. It's just not what Dana Point's about, even though I've only been here 16 years. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is James Lenthal, and he will be followed by John Hicks.
Good evening. My name is James Lenthal. I am the Vice President of the Dana Point Boaters Association. I'm also a lifelong Dana Point resident and boater, and I'm here to represent my organization and our 3,000 Dana Point boaters. We are not the appellant in this matter. But here we are again. We've said it before, Dana Point Boaters Association supports harbor revitalization. We don't desire to derail it. Like our merchant partners, we had hoped to see ground broken by now. All parties in this project have been asked to make compromises. However, this is predominantly a commercial and entertainment revitalization, yet there's no denying that boaters have been made to sacrifice the most to this plan. And this planned loss of boater resources and the pushback by boaters is precisely why we're here again tonight, continuing this painful cycle. Please, let's not forget that Dana Point Harbor is a recreational boating harbor first, above all other uses. The California Coastal Act says so. You have the power to end this cycle, to send this project into actual construction by adding just a few stipulations, a few conditions, some mitigation for the loss of boater resources. At this point in the game, we're really not asking for much. We're asking you to attach just a few realistic and feasible conditions to the CDP. Nothing in our proposed mitigations will add significant expense to the project, unduly burden any other harbor stakeholders, or further delay the project. But if approved and attached to the CDP, our proposed mitigations will give our 3,000 boaters a sense that they are being heard, that you respect and value their place in our harbor, and ease a few of the burdens that we're being asked to endure in this project. And that, frankly, would be newsworthy development. Earlier this month, Dana Point Boaters Association published for our members and distributed to all interested parties a detailed description of our continued concerns over this project, with proposals to alleviate some of those concerns. We hope you've had an opportunity to review our proposals. However, in the briefest of summaries, here's what we're asking for: a refinement of the parking management plan to minimize the loss of boater parking during and after construction, as detailed in our documents and required by the Coastal Commission. Relocation of the guest docks prior to construction, not after, thereby significantly reducing boater parking demands in the area of construction. Further development and refinement of the day use and dry boat storage plan during construction is requested in our proposal and required by the Coastal Commission. And we still desire to see a publicly disclosed finance plan for harbor revitalization, one that demonstrates that boaters will not pay a disproportionate share of a predominantly commercial revitalization. With these conditions, we believe you can significantly reduce the risk of having this project toil further at the Coastal Commission. On behalf of the Dana Point Boaters Association and our boaters, please approve the CDP with the conditions we've requested in order to minimize further loss of boater resources and move this project to construction as soon as possible. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is John Hicks, and following Mr. Hicks will be Jim Miller.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor Bartlett. My name is John Hicks. I'm a resident of Laguna Niguel. My wife and I, along with my son Keegan, have owned and operated the Harbor Grill restaurant for the past 30 years. I'm speaking tonight to urge you to once again approve the coastal development permit and allow the Dana Point Harbor revitalization to move forward. It's been over 15 years since the revitalization plan began and nearly 6 years since the plan was approved by the Coastal Commission by a unanimous vote. And over the years, the planning for the project has been comprehensive, inclusive. It's involved numerous citizens, business owners, boating organizations, and county representatives. The project has been vetted and approved by the state commissions, county agencies, the planning commission, and by the city council last June. Hopefully this will be the final time before we come to speak about this. And I'd like to take a moment and commend Ursula and her staff for the fine work that they've done, kind of researching, over the past few months and actually years and looking at the work that's been done. It's really been phenomenal, the amount of detail. It's been your work has been comprehensive, it's thorough, it's been measured, and it's been fair. And I've just wanted to say that it's really remarkable. You wonder oftentimes, well, what does our city council, what does our members of the city of Dana Point do? And I see the work that's been done, the thoroughness, the detail, and I'm just, very, very impressed. So I wanted to make that point. And finally, I would like to urge the commission to approve the recommendations that your staff has made and adopt the resolution as submitted. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Jim Miller, and following Mr. Miller will be Donna Kalis.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Bartlett, Councilman. My name is Jim Miller. I'm a resident of Dana Point, and I also own the Coffee Importers for the past 35 years. I'm also president of the Harbor Association, and I've been very active in this revitalization since 1997. I was on the original task force with Supervisor Wilson. I'm also representing the group tonight called Dana Point Harbor Now. As you know, we have about 2,000 members, and we were present when the city of Dana Point approved the CDP for the harbor plan and community, and we were very excited that the revitalization plan was on its way. This plan has a wide community support by community leaders, residents, surrounding communities, and now we are back urging you to prevent additional delays. It's been 17 years in the making, and it's time to move this project forward. We believe the revisions added to the LCP as a response to the issues by the two commissioners of the California Coast Commission has been addressed, clarified, and should be approved by the City Council as written tonight. We would hope that the focus should be to answer the issues of the Coastal Commission and not modify or add new issues that have already been heard, discussed, vetted over the past 17 years. It's been 17 years, and the plan will never be a perfect plan. If the plan is to move forward, leaders need to see that enough is enough, and it's time to stop the delays and move the revitalization forward. We believe the City Council of Dana Point and your leadership, Madam Mayor, can make this happen. We urge you to adopt the resolution to approve the CDP 13008I, and let's get the harbor revitalization started. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker, Donna Kalis, and following Ms. Kalis will be Ted Olson.
Good evening, Mayor Bartlett, City Council members. My name is Donna Kalis. I live in San Clemente, and my family owns Dana Wharf Sport Fishing and Whale Watching. We were the first business to operate in 1971 when the harbor opened. I am here tonight to just urge your support on the CDP plan before you. We have come a long way. We have been over 15 years in the process. I reiterate what Jim Miller has said and John Hicks. We have been at all these meetings. Your city staff's been wonderful to go through this process again and again and again. And enough is enough, and we need to move the plan forward. We're all in support as far as the plan is never going to be perfect, and not every single person is going to get every single thing that they need, but we need to move the plan forward. It's been much too long, and I'm just here to urge you to go ahead and support the CDP. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ted Olson, and then Mr. Olson will be followed by our final speaker, which will be Brad Gross.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, Madam Supervisor-elect, Mayor, congratulations, and the council members. Thank you for letting me speak. I want to give input on the revised coastal development permit application of the commercial core. My name is Ted Olson. I'm a resident of Mission Viejo. Wish I lived in Dana Point. I have been a boater in Dana Point Harbor for the last 31 years, 21 years launching my boat at the launch ramp and 10 years in the slip. I'm here representing boaters for Dana Point Harbor. We gave input to the Planning Commission in May. We were the appellants who brought the application to the council in July. We are the first to appeal your approval of the previous permit application to California Coastal Commission, and 2 members of the Coastal Commission also filed an appeal. We won't go through all the previous comments, although we stand by them. The county's revised plan is still inconsistent with the certified local coastal program that is approved by this council and the Coastal Commission. It should not be permitted until it is. We want to publicly acknowledge and applaud the analysis provided to you by the Dana Point Boaters Association, which includes a number of items which show how the application violates the rules to which both the city and the county agreed. Most involve a failure to properly prioritize resources in the harbor as required by the Coastal Act. They suggest 15 areas where additional mitigation is needed, especially during the construction of the commercial core. We would agree with their recommendations, all of them. And we believe the boating community of Dana Point Harbor is united. I want to mention 2 specific items that we believe absolutely must be fixed. First, Section 14.2I of the implementation plan requires that parking for higher priority uses, specifically including dry boat storage within the commercial core, is open and available for use prior to the occupancy of the new buildings. Second, both 14.5R of the land use plan and Section 14.2I of the implementation plan require that 493 dry boat spaces be maintained in the harbor at all times. The applicant seems to either believe that the South Coast Water District property called Up the Creek Storage is part of the harbor, or they are just ignoring these requirements. The city staff seems to have missed this point as well, judging by page 19 of their staff report. Their proposal would keep more than half of the current dry storage boats out of the harbor for more than 3 years, We believe this is improper prioritization of harbor space, and it could lead to the commercial buildings being unoccupied until there is space for 493 boats. The CDP application needs further revision to meet the needs of the entire harbor community, of which boaters are a significant part, and the application is only for part of the harbor. If you approve this item tonight, as with your initial approval, you're likely to see it land back on your agenda at some future date for a third time. Thank you. We ask you to do the right thing and reject this item. Thank you.
Okay, our last speaker will be Brad Gross.
Madam Mayor, City Council members, I'm Brad Gross, Director, OC Dana Point Harbor. I'm a resident of Dana Point, a trailer boater, and a launch ramp user. Thanks for the opportunity tonight to make a few comments tonight regarding the appeal of the Coastal Development Permit for the Dana Point Harbor Revitalization Commercial Core Project. The local coastal program, or the Harbor LCP, was certified by the California Coastal Commission in 2011. And almost 3 years to the date, almost 3 years ago to the date. The project before you tonight is consistent with the policies and regulations of the certified LCP. This project was approved by the Dana Point Planning Commission in May, and the City Council unanimously approved the Planning Commission's decision in June of that year. That's 3 governing bodies all agreeing to the elements of this project. We're here tonight for 2 reasons. First, the Coastal Commission requested clarification following an appeal from a member of the public, and those issues of clarification included protection of public views and community character, dry boat storage and launch ramp parking, a shoreline management plan and wave uprush study, the sign program, and the parking management plan. We've been working closely with coastal staff to provide these clarifications, the justifications, and in some cases, as Ursula pointed out, revisions in order to demonstrate the consistency with the policies and the regulations contained in the certified LCP. As a result of those efforts, which included meetings, conference calls, and actually draft submittals to the Coastal Commission staff, Coastal Commission staff is now completely satisfied with the end results. The second reason we're here is since you last saw us 5 months ago, the CDP was appealed once again by the same appellant based on the same issues as before. On July 3rd, your city manager and myself received an email from the appellant regarding his appeal, and in the email he stated that he believed that there were viable solutions to the county's plans and that he would remain available to discuss alternatives to the current plan. I personally replied immediately to the email the same day and asked that the appellant provide the solutions in writing as soon as possible so that we could evaluate them and share the ideas with the Coastal Commission staff. I received no response. I inquired again on July 15th about this viable solution, and once again, no response. In our communications with Coastal Commission staff, I informed them of my attempts to contact the appellant, to which they replied that they would reach out to the appellant. Now, we're aware that the appellant did have a meeting with the Coastal Commission staff in September, and we were informed by Coastal Commission staff that no new issues or solutions were raised by the appellant. As city staff is represented in the report presentation to you, the Commercial Core Project CDP documentation has been amended to address the issues raised by the Coastal Commission staff, and of course, we concur with the staff report. Finally, as you heard earlier, we did receive a letter from the Dana Point Boaters Association with a number of requests related to the harbor revitalization. Many of the requests, just another 30 seconds, please. Many of the requests had to do with harbor operations, some had to do with landside construction issues, and other had to do with future waterside construction. We prepared a response to the request and have provided a copy of the responses to the City Council members. Suffice it to say, we've had a constructive relationship with the Boaters Association, and we're committed to continue working together. In closing, I'd like to thank staff that are here tonight, your staff, OC Dana Point Harbor staff, our project managers, and Coastal Commission staff. They, as usual, have done the heavy lifting getting us here tonight. This has been a very long and inclusive process. The CD application is compliant with the certified LCP. And again, I'm here tonight with my staff to answer any questions, and I look forward to your approval tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We'll now close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion and a vote. Who would like to start? Mayor Pro Tem?
You know, I don't know how many times we can see this same thing. You know, somebody said they've been, at this for 17 years? including the Planning Commission and City Council. I've been in city government for 12 years, and I think this is an item that I've seen every year of my 12 years. And the last couple of iterations has not seemed to change. There's an appeal, it comes back to us, minor modifications. And with that, I think it's time to send it back to the Coastal Commission for final approval, and with that, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, do you have any comments, Councilmember Olvera?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I've been exposed to this project first in 2002 when I was foreman of the Orange County Grand Jury and given a draft copy of the EIR. So I've kind of been following it as a resident of Dana Point since then. I think as it has been stated that we are here to address some issues that the Coastal Commission requested that we review, and I believe that we have the documentation in front of us that answers those questions to the Coastal Commission, and this will be the response given back to the Coastal Commission. Is that right, Ursula?
Yes.
Thank you. I've been a project manager of a very small project. It was only $60 million. It was a geothermal power plant in El Salvador. And projects of this magnitude require constant evaluation and constant adjustment. I have yet to see in a project, you always want to make sure that your projects run on time or under budget. This one's going to take quite a long time, and I'm not prepared to try to make an assessment of that. But nevertheless, I know that the concerns that have just been brought up, that I got an email from on the Boaters Association, and then the response I hear that has been made to them, I think that the OC Dana Point Harbor is looking to try to take any input and at least have a dialogue to go over it and try to see if there's if priorities can be changed. When you do a project management, there's a lot involved in a project that's going to take this long. But I'm quite comfortable that it has been reviewed by all the statutes required by us, by the state of California, so I second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. You know, in a project of this magnitude, you can't get everything perfect that's going to satisfy everyone 100%. We've had numerous public hearings over the course of many, many years and made a lot of tweaks to the project along the way. We finally got it to the point where we did finally get approval and satisfaction from the Coastal Commission staff, which is very particular. So we finally got that far in the process, and I think we need to really look at moving this project forward. I know the County of Orange would like to see this project finally move forward and see some progress made. We've now gone through two supervisors in the 5th District, Tom Wilson and Pat Bates, and they served a total of 16 years. Tom Wilson started this project, so just tells you how long this project has been in progress. But I think we've tweaked it along the way and really made some great strides. So we have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, if I could interrupt
Yes.
for 1 second.
Certainly.
I'd just like to clarify that the motion and the second includes condition number 57 that was proposed by staff and the applicant and handed out to the council this evening.
Let's see. Yes, we have that.
I could read it for you if it's quicker than having you searching for it.
It's the one that's under the yellow sheet.
It is in the yellow sheet.
It has to do with the design of the festival stairs, Festival Plaza stairs.
Perhaps I could just read it for the record so that everybody knows what we're talking
That
about.
would be great, thank you.
The proposed condition 57 reads, "The design of the Festival Plaza stairs located immediately adjacent to Commercial Core Building 9 shall be modified to accommodate a pedestrian ramp to facilitate boater access to the docks. The construction plans, including this modified ramp design, shall be provided to the Director of Community Development for verification concurrent to submittal of construction plans to the Orange County Building Department for plan check review."
Okay, should we have a motion and a second with staff recommendation plus the additional of item number 57? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, and that passes. We now move on to item number 19, which is the hearing on appeal of Planning Commission decision denying coastal development permit CDP 14-0017 for the installation of pay stations at Salt Creek Beach parking lot at Strands Beach within the Community Facilities CF District at 34111 Selva Road. Could we have a staff report on this item, please?
Of course, Mayor Bartlett. On September of this year, the Planning Commission held a public hearing for two CDPs, one for pay parking and the other is for repair and maintenance of some existing gates. That determination, one of those CDPs has been appealed by the California Coastal Commission to the California Coastal Commission, and the other one had been appealed by the County of Orange. What I'd like to do is ask Ursula to please provide a staff report so we can get a good summary of what's before the council this evening.
Good evening again, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. The matter before you this evening is an appeal of the Planning Commission decision related to the installation of 8 pay stations within the existing parking lot located at 34111 Selva Road, Salt Creek Beach parking lot at Strands Beach, commonly referred to as the Strands Beach parking lot, as depicted on the slide before you. The parking lot is owned by the County of Orange, and the county is the applicant for the project. The change in management of the parking lot from no-cost parking to paid parking requires approval of a coastal development permit. The Planning Commission considered CDP 14-0017 on September 8th of 2014. The Planning Commission denied the approval of the CDP. The applicant filed an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision on September 17th. Within the necessary time as prescribed by the Dana Point Municipal Code. 7 of the pay stations will be located upon pre-existing small concrete foundation pads. 1 new foundation pad will be added near the southern end of the parking lot near Veterans Memorial Park. And these next 2 slides show the locations within the parking lot of the proposed stations. The pay stations will be located within the existing landscape medians. Pay stations will be self-service, similar to other existing paid County Beach parking lots. The number of parking spaces will remain the same. The cost for parking will be $1 per hour. Here are a couple examples that you might be familiar with in other county-owned parking facilities. The City Council has 2 options before you this evening. 1, you can uphold the Planning Commission's action and approve CDP 14-0017, which is a denial of the CDP, or you can reverse the Planning Commission's action and, so you can uphold the Planning Commission's decision, which would be a denial of the CDP, or you can reverse the Planning Commission's action, which would be an approval of the CDP. Staff is available to answer any questions.
Ursula, if I could just a point of clarification. This is consistent with the current parking situation at Salt Creek Beach and County Beach and Capistrano Beach, correct?
Correct.
And it will be the same parking fee that the county uses up and down the coast in Orange County at county parking lots, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, we'll now open up the public hearing. We have 10 minutes for the presentation of the appellant.
Good evening, Mayor Bartlett, members of the council. My name is Scott Thomas. I'm the Planning and Design Manager for Orange County Parks, also known as OC Parks. With me tonight is Steve Bonhall. Steve is the Supervising Park Ranger for the South Coastal Operations for OC Parks. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you regarding this matter. As was stated in the staff report, OC Parks is requesting an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision, essentially denying our CDP for installation of pay stations at Strands Beach parking lot, which is just off the Selva Road, as the illustration stated. So I do want to reiterate 3 points that was essentially submitted by Stacy Blackwood, the OC Parks Director, which I believe you have a copy of her letter in your report. But I just wanted to kind of touch upon those 3 points if I could. Number 1, as was stated by staff, this is the only coastal parking lot within the Orange County Park system that does not have fee-based system. So this is an anomaly. In fact, pretty much every urbanized Southern California beach parking lot is a fee-based situation. So we figure this is in keeping with this sort of parking lot along the beach that really, and I think the Coastal Commission has consistently recognized the right for local governments to essentially regulate parking, which includes allowing for fee-based parking. Second point is the normal parking fee is the $1 per hour. That's essentially, but you can get a $55 parking pass, which is a year subscription, annual pass. But really the point there is with the fee becomes greater turnover in stalls. So each parking stall has a greater turnover, thereby facilitating increased public access at the beach. And the third point is, as you're aware, there are expenses related to operating and maintaining a facility, and this essentially fee revenue would help offset some of those expenses. If you've been to the parking lot lately, you see that we've just installed LED lighting at the parking lot. We do a lot of pavement maintenance and upkeep of the restroom there and the walkways. So it helps to offset some of those costs for the County of Orange. So we respectfully request that the City Council approve the coastal development permit for these pay stations at the Strands Beach parking lot. Thank you very much for your consideration of this matter.
Okay, thank you. We'll now open it to public comments. We do have one request to speak. Mark Miller. Please state your name and city of residence, please.
Hi, my name's Mark Miller. It's my wife Gladys. In June of, I got to state my 34112, which happens to be, I wish that graphic was up there. The address of the parking lot is 34111. Now that puts me right in front. We live at the front of the Niguel Terrace. And that puts me right in front of the driveways in and out of there. And you would think, we moved there about 1.5 years ago. I retired. I love it. You would think that I would be all for this because it would probably lessen the amount of cars coming in and out of that driveway. But I was here at the Planning Commission meeting where it was packed and it was virtually unanimous. Everybody wanted the Planning Commission to keep that a free lot. And well, I can't remember offhand every argument given there, but it seems like the gist of it was that if nothing's broken, why are we trying to fix it? There's a big difference between, say, Salt Creek parking and where we are, and that is that the streets there's no parking allowed. So what's going to happen to the residents, the 400 units of Niguel Terrace, is that's going to force a nightmare on Selva Road and people trying to park, and people trying to park free and park in our parking lot. We don't have a gate. We don't have that ability to do that. So it's going to create a real hassle for us and probably the city police to some extent too. Because of where I'm situated and I walk my dog every night, all kinds of crazy hours, there's really no problems going on there that I could see. As far as those LED lights go, they've lit that parking lot up like Angel Stadium. And it's really an eyesore. I understand that the old lights were probably expensive to operate and they're deteriorating because they're wood, but I certainly don't think it's an improvement. So I guess I'm just asking the City Council to listen to your constituents. All those folks, I wish they were here today. Probably if I'd have rallied the troops, they'd have come, but that's what we wanted. That's what people of Dana Point wanted. They wanted to keep it so they can drive down and, you know, snap a picture of the sunset and come in and out and not have to pay $1 or whatever. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll have 5 minutes for rebuttal if the applicant or appellant would like to provide a rebuttal.
Madam Mayor, council members, I really don't have a rebuttal, but I just would like to provide, thank you very much for we hadn't heard anything about the LED lights, so we'll take that into consideration and look at that. We've gotten compliments on the LED lights, but I just wanted to state that for the record that to this date we haven't received any comments on the LED lights. Thank you.
Okay, all right. We will close the public hearing. I'll bring it back to council for discussion. Who would like to begin?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One of the things I believe in is pay as you go, and a lot of national, state, and parks are pay for the use of it rather than having everybody else pay who doesn't use for it. So there is a feature on paying. I'm going to compare this to an experience I had yesterday when I was in San Diego, down at San Diego Wharf. It's $1.75 for a half hour. I just thought that was ridiculous. And then I realized the only people that pay that is the tourists. But I see a concern from the residents, and based on our earlier public comment section, we were talking about using existing ordinances and police services for helping existing laws. So I hope that the city staff will take that consideration as far as any abuse of parking or illegal parking on Selva. Other than that, I think I'll make the motion that we approve this.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to comment?
Yeah, I'll comment just to make sure you're talking about reversing the planning commission's.
Yes.
Okay. Before I would just.
Yes, you're right. There was two choices. Yes.
Yes. Choice A and B.
Yes.
You're picking B.
I'm picking
Number 2. I will second the motion. You know, for those that use the lot all the time, as was mentioned, you can get a yearly pass for $55, which is 55 hours worth, if you look at it. For the surfers in this county, I think about half the surfers have parking passes already because they're parking in all the lots at 6 o'clock in the morning and at 6 o'clock at night or whatever time they surf. And I've noticed the other couple of lots that have paid parking, people come in, they get their ticket for a couple of hours, they go wander around, walk in the sand, get in their car and go. And it allows for better turnover in lots that have problems. And this lot gets fairly full in the summertime. So I'll second reversing the Planning Commission's action and turn it over to the mayor.
Okay, and I agree with my colleagues. You know, the county is just looking for cost recovery here. There's a cost to maintaining that lot. It's one of the last remaining lots along the coast here that doesn't have pay stations in it, and I think it's really just a reasonable thing. You know, we wouldn't want the county coming back to us and saying, all right, well, this lot's in Dana Point, you don't want to have pay stations, Dana Point, you get to maintain this lot. Same thing with the harbor. You know, we expect the county, it's a county-owned harbor, but it's in the city of Dana Point. You know, the city certainly wouldn't want to pay the tab of $150 million for the harbor renovation project. So we all have to be good partners and do what's reasonable here. And at $1 an hour, when you consider what they charge in Laguna Beach or in Santa Ana, this is really quite the bargain. Also, we've had issues with the parking lot during certain times of the year when the weather is really good of turning into a campground. When we've had Winnebagos camping out there and people bringing Coleman stoves and all sorts of things happening there. So this will help reduce that. It'll help increase the level of public safety. And I think the request that is being made here is entirely reasonable. So I'll agree with my colleagues. We have a motion and a second to reverse the Planning Commission action and adopt the resolution as indicated. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, and that passes. We have no unfinished business. We have no new business. We'll now move on to staff reports. City Manager.
Just a brief comment, and what's interesting is the day after the election, city managers had our monthly luncheon, and when it came time for me to say, how did the election go in Dana Point, I was able to get up and say we had a bit of a trifecta the night before, and what's important about that is the fact that I've been in Dana Point over 12 years, and when I first arrived, the furthest north that a council member ever attended anything was the El Toro Y, and that was to go shopping. On election night, we have a past mayor who was elected to the State Board of Equalization, a council member who was elected to the State Assembly, but more importantly, we had our mayor elected to the Orange County Board of Supervisors. That's a huge statement for how far Dana Point has come in 25 years, where we're that much of a regional force and voice, and I think all of it goes back to the commitment that the council members make when they assume office and take their role seriously, not only at the local level, but the regional level. So with that, I want to wish Bill Breaux good luck in his endeavors in Sacramento. Stephen, I somehow think we'll see you back involved in local government in the future. And Lisa, congratulations. From this point forward, I guess it's appropriate for me to call you Madam Supervisor-elect, so I will do that. But on behalf of the city staff, I want to congratulate this council for a job well done, and those going on to higher office, good luck. We're here to be a resource. And Mr. Weinberg, thank you very much for your 8 years of service. I can't tell you how much the staff has appreciated your input. So those are my comments.
Great, thank you. City Attorney.
I don't have any report, but I would like to echo the city manager's comments. It's been a pleasure having the opportunity to work with you, Madam Mayor. I look forward to seeing you at the Board of Supervisors, and congratulations to Councilmember Breaux and former Mayor Harkey as well. And anyway, just wanted to reiterate that.
Thank you. We'll now move on to council comments. Councilmember Olvera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, I will promise the city clerk I will turn in my list of meetings attended. And then also want to congratulate our Madam Mayor and Supervisor-elect. That's quite an honor to have that happen for Dana Point coming from this dais. And then Mr. Breaux to go on to the Assembly. So as our city manager has stated, yes, Dana Point is in a leadership role in the county, and I hope that we can stay that way. And with your guiding light from Santa Ana, we hope that we can see you down here often and help you, support you and your goals for the 5th District.
Absolutely, I'm counting on that.
Other than that, I got nothing else.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, this may be my last council comments, I think. Do you get to say it? Okay. Thank you, Carlos. If that's the case, I'll save them till next time. And I'll turn my meetings into the city clerk if she can find me. She knows where I am. So I look forward to the next meeting, December 2nd. I get out of jail for a while. And it should be enjoyable to spend time with my family, my grandkids, and be able to come back and harass the council. 2 of them are sitting in the cheap seats I see up there, and I wish them luck. And with that, have a good evening.
Thank you. And this will be my last council meeting too, so this is really bittersweet. Was elected in 2006, and over the course of the last 8 years, had some great council members to work with, great city staff, and a great community as well. We've accomplished a lot. Dana Point has really put itself on the map. You know, when I got elected in 2006, we had a lot of goals we wanted to accomplish in the city. We had projects that were just in kind of a standing still position, and I was determined to move things forward. That's why I ran in 2006, because I moved into the city in 1989, and I was promised as the city was getting incorporated that we would have a town center the next year. And finally in 2006, I said, where is our town center? And so then someone said, well, why don't you get elected to council and do something about it? So I did. And that's part of the legacy that I leave behind, is to have worked with great city staff and the community and council members to actually have plans for town center moving forward now. Very exciting. And a plan for Doheny Village, which will be conceptually designed in 2015 and in the spring. That's wonderful. And a harbor plan that will be moving forward. And certainly at the county level, that will be one of my top priorities, to make sure that we get this harbor plan actually moving forward. It's a 5-year plan, start to finish, and we need to get it started. It's about time. So over the last 8 years, like I said, we've accomplished a lot. We've got the city on very solid ground. The city has no debt. We have a balanced budget every single year. We paid off our unfunded pension liability, and we've got cash reserves. We have a lot to be proud of in our little city of Dana Point, and I was proud to be part of the process, honored to serve such a great community, and even though I'm stepping up now and will be at the county, I will still be very much involved on a regional basis and still very much involved with the city of Dana Point. So I look forward to continuing that relationship, just at a different level. I look forward to being here on December 2nd to swear in our 3 new council members. We have 2 of them in the audience this evening, and it's going to be very exciting. And I'll also be providing, I guess, some of the outgoing comments for our Mayor Pro Tem on December 2nd. So we've got some interesting times ahead, a lot going on in the city, a lot of great opportunities for Dana Point. Our T-bid is just doing fantastic. The Illumination project is going to be setting us apart from virtually every other city. It's going to be a holiday festival that will be unlike anything we've ever seen along the coast here. I just saw a little glimpse of it last week, and it's going to be fantastic. But these are the creative things that our hoteliers are putting forth, and it further puts Dana Point on the international map as a fantastic international resort destination. They're bringing in a lot of incremental revenue to the city by doing great work and working well with our staff. The communities embrace the projects, and we've got a council that is very proactive, and I'm just really proud to have been part of all of that. So thank you for letting me serve the community. I've really enjoyed my time, and I look forward to serving at the county and like I said, continuing the great relationship that I've started. Thank you. And with that, we shall adjourn to our next regularly scheduled meeting of December 2nd. Thank you.